I love how over the top this scene is. I mean, if it wasn't for Dio's voice actor, I don't think that this scene would have been as great as it was in this episode, just because of how it was explained. I mean, look, Food Wars is a series that sometimes doesn't take itself too seriously. Let's just be completely real, okay? And something like that being done in this episode, I couldn't help but just pause the episode and chuckle for a second, just because of how obnoxious it was. Because I'm used to the foodgasms, I'm used to the clothing just exploding off the characters, I'm used to stuff like that when it comes to Food Wars. Just to see the explanation of how his clothes was coming off, how it exploded, the art of exploding clothes or whatever, and it was constantly passed down for generations, I'm like, yo! And then you have, like, you know, the gift explanation for the two twins and all that when their clothes completely, you know, popped off. I'm just like, what the hell? Food Wars. Their clothes were magically off, and then the next scene, once that was done, their clothes was back on. Like, come on, now have some consistency. If you're gonna have their clothes just gone, keep them gone. I'm just saying, I just, you know, became a part of a list now. I know I'm on a watch list now just because of saying that, but I'm just saying that, just come on now. But, okay, jokes aside, getting into the actual core content of this episode of Shokugeki no Soma, that ending, after the credits, to be exact, whoa, did that just happen? Like, did our characters just get expelled? I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty surprised. I did not think something like that would actually happen for Food Wars. I mean, I figured Soma was gonna win. I mean, he's the MC, and he can't lose this time because of all the stakes at hand, and he's trying to teach Hayama kind of a lesson the entire time. So, I mean, I'm just like, I knew Soma was probably going to win. It was kind of common sense there. But when it came to everybody else, that is what I was kind of shocked about. I remember talking about this in my last week's episode review. I remember stating that, you know, I don't want all of them to win, because if they do win, it's going to undermine the message or the meaning of the Elite 10, because they're supposed to be like the top 10 chefs of the school, and if they're easily defeated by our cast of characters, it just undermines all the build-up to them that the series has given them. And so I'm very pleased. Like, I'm just going to say right now, I am extremely pleased about this episode of the direction of the story, with a bunch of characters getting expelled. Even if it's not permanent, let's just say like they come back next, you know, week with the next episode, and for some reason everything works out, they're not expelled because Soma saves them or whatever, you know what, fine. But just to see how they were not able to, you know, defeat the Elite 10, you know, the strong, you know, members and stuff, I'm pleased with that. Because, I mean, seeing Soma beat someone like Hayama, it makes sense. Like, it's not too far of a reach, because, I mean, he's a new member of the Elite 10, we have seen his skills and all that as a chef. Yes, he's a really skilled chef, like, he's not someone you should underestimate, but at the same time, he's nowhere near the level of, like, the others a part of the Elite 10, from what we have personally seen. So, I mean, it's not a stretch for Soma to beat Hayama, but all the others that are obviously a lot stronger, better as chefs than Hayama, if they were to defeat them, I would be like, no, no, I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that at all. So, I'm glad that happened. I'm very pleased just to see how a bunch of them just failed outright. Now, I'm very curious on exactly what's going to happen next. I'm going to assume, if I had to take an educated guess, that Soma's going to do a Shokugeki, and he's going to get them back in the next episode or something. That's what I'm assuming, or that's going to be the next arc. You know, him trying to do a Shokugeki to bring them back and not be expelled anymore. That's what I'm assuming. I could be wrong there, but that's what I'm assuming, because normally, if something like this happens, usually that's the way to fix all the problems that just happened. But let's talk about Hayama for a second. So, Hayama, he lost in the end, obviously, and he actually got expelled. So the man actually turned out to not just have the research revoked and all that, like he's no longer able to, you know, help out June and stuff because they're not going to get funds, but on top of that, he just got expelled from the school, so he's not even allowed to be there anymore, which is pretty upsetting, because that makes me wonder, is he allowed to be in Polar Star now? Like, I don't really know how that's going to work. If he is expelled, is he allowed to be at Polar Star, or is he not allowed? Like, I'm very curious on that fact. That needs to be explained. But if he really is expelled and he's not allowed to be there, even on the school grounds, then GG for Hayama. That does definitely mean that someone needs to do a Shokugeki to be able to get them back in some way. But even if he does a Shokugeki, most likely, if someone was to do that, it would have to be of equal value, equal exchange. So, I'm very curious on what Soma would actually have to offer if he was to try to save them and bring them back or whatever, not to be expelled or whatever. I'm very curious. But okay. So, dropping that for now, though. This episode put Hayama and Soma against each other. We got to see their overall skills and what differs both of them, how they are as chefs. Now, I already kind of got into this in my last week's episode review, and this episode dives a little bit more into it, and showcasing once again how Soma and Hayama, how they're distinctly different when it comes to the way they cook or tackle certain recipes, for instance, bear meat. And in this case, it comes down to the fact that, Soma, he put more passion into his dish compared to Hayama. That's what really resulted in the win in the end for Soma. If it wasn't for him constantly having this passion, this obsession to be able to defeat Hayama and feed him the food and all that, he probably would have lost. So the end result for this match wasn't the fact of who was, let's say, the better chef with the food. It was more of who pursued the greatest heights for their dish, who went as far as they could to be able to get these ingredients to make it the best they possibly could, which is what Soma did. He went out of his way to test hundreds and thousands of different ingredients just to be able to make this bear dish really good, and even used a certain type of honey to make it extremely tasty. And Hayama, even though he has this skill to cook and all that with seasonings and all of that, it's very apparent from his dish and Soma's dish that he didn't put as much effort, most likely, or passion like Soma did, which is the comparison for this episode and how Hayama lost in the first place. Now, getting right into that, so Hayama's meat, like the bear meat, the way it was cooked, it was superior. It was overwhelmingly superior compared to Soma's meat dish. But when it came to the sauce, that is when Soma excelled and was a lot better than Hayama. So they both came out with a tie. In terms of their skills as a chef, they both ended up as a tie in terms of taste and quality and all that. Which does show that Soma has a lot to work on. Even though he came out with a win, a W this week, does not automatically mean that he's better than Hayama. Because, he came out with just as a better person. For instance, being more passionate about his dish. If he wouldn't have put in as much passion, he easily would have lost, which, like I said, that's what it really came down to in the first place. But anyways, Soma and Hayama's dish, they were pretty much on equal standing. They were equal, they both tasted good in their own ways. The judges, the twins at the very least, they were, mixed. They didn't know who they really wanted to win, and it came down to, the actual main judge to actually determine who is, the best chef, who wins this match, and Soma obviously won in the end. So, overall, I think the match, it was handled pretty well. It was pretty obvious by the way Hayama carried himself, he wasn't acting the same. He didn't put as much passion into this dish like, Soma usually does, or what he did in the past from what we have seen. So it does make sense why he lost in the end. But, overall, though, I say that it was a great way. It was a great way to kind of end this little match, because at the end of the day, Hayama's still a really good chef, and once he puts more passion into his dishes, he definitely is going to be hard to beat. Most likely, Soma won't be able to beat him next time, because of just if he does put all that extra work in, like even what Soma does. Now, speaking of June, let's get into June for a second. June pops up in this episode, and obviously she's against what Hayama has been doing. She's against Hayama joining Central, helping her out and kind of sacrificing everything else in his happiness just to be able to help her out. She's not a big fan of that at all. And she pretty much ends up slapping Hayama at the end of the match, which was definitely warranted quite a bit. And it gives him a big wake-up call. June's like, look, I am more like your guardian. I'm like this mother figure that watches over you. I want you to be happy. This is the first time in a long time I've actually seen you be able to make friends, have fun, cook together, and see you enjoy what you do. And so, as a mother figure, a guardian figure of Hayama, she just wants him to be happy. She doesn't really care as much for her research as much as she cares about Hayama and him and being able to do what he wants to do, his passion. And so she was willing to give stuff like that up. And so because of that, we get to see how she encourages Hayama to, open his eyes again and realize that it's not just always going to be about her. She doesn't need to be protected. She wants to help him out too, and he realizes that, which I love that little scene, just the June scene with Hayama. It was so sweet. It was a nice little bow on top for their character development, characterization, and the relationship status. I love that quite a bit. Now, speaking of which, let's also talk about the fact that Erina popped up in this episode, and the way she just appeared out of nowhere with her hair all messed up, I'm like, yo, what? That's pretty cute. I'm not gonna lie. I really like her design with her messed up hair, and Soma, the way he's talking to her and all that, I love it. I love the way they're interacting with each other. It's amazing. I've loved how they've been talking with each other in these recent episodes, and that scene was just straight up adorable. But that's about it when it comes to this week's episode of Food Wars, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. Chibi out.